Hi, I'm scared to make this video. I don't want to be an autistic YouTuber, and I hope that this is the only one that I ever do on it, but we'll see. Yeah, I hate the autistic community on the internet, and I'm about to piss them off probably. Um, Autistic people are actually really big, they're big assholes, and they're really selfish, and they struggle really bad with empathy. Not all of them, of course. I think it's more that it's just stuff that they have to learn instead of being born with it. You know what I mean? So, okay, everyone is stupid about autism. Everyone. And when I was younger, I think it was right after my dad died. A doctor told me that he thought that I had Asperger's. Asperger's is not in the DSM anymore. They took it out. They changed it. They made it into like they keep changing it anyway. The guy who invented Asperger's, not invented, the guy who coined the term, he was like a Nazi, and there was like all kinds of bullshit about that. Anyway, um, it was whenever I looked it up, it was honestly like it was. It's like they are now. Um, it's like they are. It was. That's the first time I think that I ever remember people being like, "Show me your diagnosis." Everyone who tells me that they have Asperger's, you have to carry around documentation and get the tattoo that your psychiatrist gives you when you get your diagnosis, and they magically make you all of a sudden Asperger's like you weren't before. Um, yeah, it was exactly like how it is now. It's like you're not allowed to tell people that you have it. Um, the first time, well, I'm sorry, it's 4 a.m. and I am very tired. But yeah, it's like you're not allowed to tell people about it. The first rule of Autistic Club: don't talk about Autistic Club. And as much as I want to sit here and normalize it for you, I can't. I mean, you know what? Like, people's like whenever I see the reaction and the way that people act about this, it's just so weird and stupid. It's just whenever really it's such not a big deal that most people will live and die and go on with their whole lives having absolutely no idea that they have it. Um, and it's not like a disabling for most people. It's really not disabling. Um, but Google shit like um, parents of autistic kids. Seriously. And all those forums and stuff where they talk about having autistic children, a lot of it's not like, oh my god, I love like if you look up fucking paraplegic kids or other kids with like really bad disorders, they're like, oh my god, I love it so much, and all these things that I have to do for them are so worth it and stuff. But then you get to the autistic community, and people are freely and openly talking about murdering their children, and it has been carried out. I mean, just Google it. Like, no one's saying anything about this. Like, I never see it covered, and I just think that it's so strange that nobody ever goes like, hey, maybe don't fucking embolden people and put the ideas in their heads to fucking kill your kids. Like, maybe don't do that. Um, but like everybody's gonna sit here and throw a fit at eating disorder people because those are people who remind you that you're fat and you don't like yourself. But then like if you, there are autistic people and you just don't like them, so people should murder their kids. I don't know. It seems like how it's going. But whenever it comes down to all these different disorders and all these diagnoses and stuff, I kind of think they're all probably just autism. If you look at like all the cluster B, like OCD and narcissism and borderline, all of those, if you just look at them, it's all like the exact same fucking thing, and it really all sounds like just autism expressing itself in different ways. It's more like it's the motivation that distinguishes them than the symptoms themselves, you know what I mean? And some people really, they experience more or less severe symptoms, and some never gain the ability to speak, and some people speak fine. I mean, it can be anywhere. It's not a linear spectrum. It's not here and here. It's all of the symptoms are the spectrum. Like, there's the obsessiveness. You could be here on obsessiveness. And then there's like the nonverbal or the verbal or the social thing. It could be here. It's like one extreme or the other. It can express itself in a million different ways. And a lot of like if you Google OCD and autism, like a lot of doctors think that it's really the same thing. BPD too, and it's not like any one of those symptoms can exist in any kind of a combination, and you're not smarter because you demanded a diagnosis. I know I'm going all over the place, I'm sorry, but everyone has a fucking psychiatric illness. Like everyone has a mental illness, and it's very rampant, and it's all over the place, and everyone has every fucking one of them. But borderlines, narcissists, autistics, OCD, everyone has um, these problems, and everyone usually has a combination of them. It's actually quite rare for somebody to just have one mental illness or one diagnosis. And most of the people inside institutions and stuff getting antipsychotics and stuff shot in their ass right now. I mean, the way that I just used the word diagnosis was incorrect. Those people, like those people in the institutions and stuff, most of them do not have a diagnosis like that. If you tell everyone they aren't suffering from a disorder, because a person cannot claim to have a disorder, but for somehow, I mean, it's just, you're an asshole. Like, the diagnosis thing, most of the people don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, several different shrinks have told me that they are certain I was on the spectrum. They wanted me to pursue a diagnosis and disability so that I could afford treatment for my other issues. Well, one of them really pushed for that, and the other ones, they were all earlier. And but the first time it happened, I was really upset, and I got hysterical, and I never went back to a doctor. I thought that they were telling me that something, like, I thought that they were telling me I was retarded. Before I really started looking into it, I thought that they had just told me that I was retarded. But all those shrinks telling me stuff and all those, like, that's not a diagnosis. Like, you don't go to one psychiatrist and they just, like, grant you a diagnosis. That's not, it's not to decide. A diagnosis doesn't decide whether or not a disorder exists and is real. That's not what it's for. A diagnosis is really, like, you can't go to a doctor and be like, one diagnosis, please, and they wave a wand over you, and all of a sudden you are autistic, like you weren't before, like before some asshole gave you, like, what? And, what the fuck ever, they are, I mean, there's still going to be the same amount of autistic before and after they pay $1,500 to $3,000 for a disability check. And that is what a diagnosis serves. It's so that you can get insurance and disability checks. Like, that's the only reason to go seek out and spend thousands of dollars on a diagnosis. It's the only reason to do that. Several different disorders and symptoms and stuff, they just exist in the DSM just for insurance and disability purposes. That's why it's different in other countries. A law or jurisdiction book or, like, a team of whatever, like, they can't, like, that doesn't, you have to go consult them, and then, like, all of a sudden it is true. And I get that self-diagnosing and that people are going around, running around and whatever, that's, like, I get that that's annoying, but it's not fucking as annoying as somebody being like, I demand, like, you don't know better than a doctor. I know better than a doctor. The doctors that diagnosed you were wrong, and I need to see, like, you're autistic, like, your fucking evidence, give me all your papers and your documentation. Like, why do you have to prove something to somebody like that? Why do you have to go prove yourself to that asshole? And it's also convoluted and stupid because I just don't think anyone really knows what's going on. I think that there's just something going on that we are calling autism. And I think that we try to document evidence in behavior and speech and stuff, but I don't think they're conditions that people have that are wrong with them. I think it's just a personality thing and how they respond to certain circumstances in their lives. I'm not saying that it's not a struggle, but who doesn't struggle? I think people are just absolute assholes when it comes to psychiatric illnesses, and there are malingerers and people with Munchausen's and stuff. They absolutely exist, and they make our lives real hard. And discrediting and going after somebody else and being a complete asshat to your friends because it just makes you so mad that somebody said that they had an illness, like the audacity. I'm not asking for your sympathy. I'm not asking for your money and your pity. I'm not asking for anything from you. But then, I don't know, like maybe like I'm just trying to get you to understand and talking to you about stuff. And then just to go on after that and be a complete asshole and stick your foot in your mouth and say, no, you don't know better than a doctor because I know better than a doctor. Like you aren't it's like you're not autistic until a shrink waves a wand over you and says, then there you go, you're autistic. Now you can go take this license and let me give you a tattoo with a number so all your friends can know you're not lying. And telling someone they don't have a diagnosis and acting like you know better, that's just as bad as faking an illness. Illness faking involves a lot of extra stuff, but I mean, like, just choosing to be an asshole, like, come on. I think all this I mean, like, whenever somebody is like obviously faking and obviously a malingerer and obviously, that's one thing, but like to silence everybody else and to say you can't even have this discussion because I'm just going to shut you down with the diagnosis argument. But yeah, I think it's us just evolving to be smarter. But what about nonverbal autistics, Diet Coke Hood? It's a disability. But yeah, I get that. I bet if they could, and if all of our fish ancestors, they probably thought that the new weirdos with feet and the weirdos that can go breathe on land, they probably thought that they had some kind of a disorder or disability whenever that was just evolution. Like the smartest autistics, the real savants, the absolute geniuses, the most brilliant ones, those are the ones sitting in a mental institution, never speaking to anybody a day in their life, eating jello, they don't have to talk to anyone, and they get to play with Legos all fucking day in psych wards, dude. That is how you do it. That is how you be autistic. I know this video is going to be a rough one. I know everyone are really opinionated and heated. I know how messy these autistic arguments get, but I do not want to make another autistic video. I do not like autistic YouTube. Just because I'm autistic doesn't mean I'm going to run around agreeing and loving and sucking all the autistic dicks in the world. Like, true acceptance is appreciating we are just like everybody else with our own sets of gifts and challenges, that we can be bartenders, we can be cam girls, we can be doctors, we can be firefighters, we can be performers. Dan Aykroyd, and what the fuck is her name, Daryl Hannah, or no, is that, she's in like a 90s mermaid movie, she had it. But we can be murderers, we can be liars, we can be cheats, we are very manipulative. I just fucking hate this narrative that we are like pathetic, shriveling, terrified little lunatics rocking back and forth and sucking our thumbs all fucking day. Like, I am not disabled, and I don't need a disability check. And when I'm more capable, I'm more than capable of working. I hate working, but most people do. But it would feel so wrong, and I'd never have a moment's peace if I accepted that disability and going on to get $1,500 diagnosis for a disability check, like, I do not need that. That would be far less than I would be making anyway. And yeah, I hope this doesn't get rehashed. I hope I don't have to make a million autistic videos. But it's 4 a.m. I'm exhausted. I'm sure I fucked up. I'm sure I said some really stupid fucking shit everywhere. And I'm gonna have to go clarify myself after I see what goes on in the comments after this. But yeah, that's it. Bye.